Okay, so we're just 2 months into 2018, but already several lives have been claimed through road accidents in various parts of the country. The recurring road accidents in the country have caused many Ghanaians, including the president, who has called for immediate steps to deal with the carnage. We have the planning officer from the Road Safety Commission here in the studio for a conversation, but on phone we also have the MTTD as well as a ranking member on Parliament's Transport Committee. Before that, here is a news desk report.
Witnessing an accident can be traumatizing.
Fair.
And the
Thank you very much for
experience
calling.
lives with you forever. Listen to these witnesses share their experiences.
We're coming right away from Shiashin.
Yeah.
So a policeman was ahead of us, riding a motorbike.
Yeah.
So when he got to the scene, in fact, I saw it vividly. The car was just rolling in the air, something like this. So the policeman quickly just veered off the road. So quickly we have to also do the same thing. Other than that, we would have a collision.
A motor riders, the two motor riders were in between this thing. So immediately one crossed in front of him. It swerved in front of him. So he just applied brake and was trying to swerve. And he was also on a top speed. So he hit my back. I'm the one driving the Honda. So I was the first person he hit.
What I saw was the car was in front of me, and then when they got to the Laboni Junction, so they saw the man saw a motorbike in front of him, and he was trying to swap the motorbike because he was on top speed. He wanted to swap the motorbike. As he went to the other lane, he got crashed with another car, and he was trying to come back into his lane, and it couldn't work.
At least the most recent accident we reported happened 2 days ago. One person died and 2 others sustained injuries when a saloon car and a Land Cruiser V8 collided at the intersection of the Aveno traffic here at Kokomlemle in the early hours of Saturday. 6 days ago, that is the 13th of February, 6 persons on board a Sprinter bus lost their lives when the bus they were traveling in crashed into a concrete wall at the Taifa Junction here in Accra. A few days ago, the country woke up to the shocking news of the passing of popular dancehall artist Ebony Reigns, who died together with 2 others while she was traveling with them on the Sunyane-Kumasi Road. According to the police, their jeep had a head-on collision with a VIP bus heading towards Sunyane from Kumasi. In January, 9 persons were confirmed dead with 20 others injured when a VIP bus heading towards Accra and a cargo truck heading towards Kumasi collided head-on in an accident that occurred at Tichamante near Intawem in the eastern region. In the same month, 3 persons died on the spot at a Suboi near Suhum on the Accra-Kumasi highway when a Ytong bus on which they were traveling from Kumasi to Accra crashed into a manned diesel trailer truck. The list goes on and on just 2 months into 2018. These unfortunate narratives have caused fear and panic among the general public, with many asking what could be wrong and how these accidents can be prevented.
All right, so let's have a very quick conversation about this rather unfortunate trend. I have in the studio Charles Kwarteng. He's planning officer of the National Road Safety Commission. Charles, you're welcome. And thank you very much for your time. I don't even know how to start asking this question because we've spoken about road safety and people dying on our roads over and over and over again. And I'm beginning to feel that the National Road Safety Commission has really failed us and as such has become useless.
Well, thank you very much. It's unfortunate I do not side with you.
You won't. I don't expect you to.
Very well. I don't side with you. The fact is that the National Road Safety Commission as an organization, we have a mandate. And as per our mandate, we are directed to do a specific or to perform a specific function in terms of reducing road traffic fatalities and injuries on our roads. So as per our mandates, I can say with the needed let's say evidence that we are really doing our best on the road in terms of carrying out what is assigned to us as per our mandate. When you look at our mandates, we are entrusted with the responsibility to educate and coordinate road safety activities in the country. And the major one has to do with road safety education. And right from the establishment of the commission, we have not relented in terms of performing our role, educating road users on how they can be safe on the road and how they can protect themselves on the road. So indeed, we've had some challenges, but I can boldly say that we are doing our work, we are doing our part, collaborating with our stakeholders. And
that sounds very blanket. It doesn't sound very different from what I've heard so far. Can you give us the specifics? For example, let's just use this year as a test case. In this year alone, what are the key tangible things that you have done that you believe has perhaps reduced road carnage or eliminated it somehow, and where?
At the beginning, you know, we started our work into this year from last year. So when we launched our Christmas campaign, it was for Christmas and the New Year. So the Christmas campaign, we looked at how we can get drivers to reduce their speed on the road.
Okay.
And right from the Christmas into the New Year, we have also tried as much as possible to intensify this particular campaign. And at the beginning of this year, the board of the National Road Safety Commission met with major stakeholders of the National Road Safety Commission, also met with other road safety advocates for us to come together and see how collectively we can perhaps pick a new path in terms of getting our message or getting our gospel to the people.
Talking of a new path, let me bring Director of Education and Training at the MTTD, DSP Alexander Obeng, a very regular person when we're talking about safety on our roads. Sir, thank you very much for your time here on the show. I'm just speaking to the National Road Safety Commission, and we're here looking at any new ways that we as a country can explore to reduce the number of people we're losing through road crashes. Do you have any, do you, based on your research and based on what you have seen so far, this year alone, do you have any recommendations of where else we should begin to look at in dealing with this problem, which we don't seem to be doing very well with?
All right, thank you very much. I think, and a good afternoon to your panelists, our colleague. I think we, first of all, need to sustain all the effort that the state is putting into agencies. And secondly, we need to intensify our enforcement efforts. Though the first month of this year, we did intensify it, but we need to do more. I'm saying this because last year by now, only 134 Ghanaians have been put before court. But this year, it's 436. And so we need to intensify it.
Okay, so last year in January, about 134 people were in court for road.
Yes, and this year 436. And out of that, last year 110 had been convicted, but this year 332 was faced in jail. Last year 0. But I'm saying that we need to do more. We need to ensure stringent enforcement.
Does that show that we're making any progress? The number of people being convicted for road
it means I talked
offenses
about intensification. We need to do that, and then at the same time balance it with sensitization. I also intensified, and I wanted to also focus on passenger safety, so that, for instance, if you look at the vehicle that just is shown on the screen, the high occupancy bus. You see, the bus is intact. It has rolled over. The seats are intact. The vehicle has got seats on every has got seat belts on every seat. However, passengers are thrown about. Some are on the bare road to their death, and the vehicle is intact on the roadside. It also means that passengers are also not safe.
Are not wearing their seat belts.
Use of seat belts, yes. And as part of our sensitization and enforcement effort, we will continue to also admonish. First,
you're always the man with the figures. Let's compare January 2017 to January 2018. What are the figures looking like?
Well, I think that on our side there has been a surge. Unfortunately, there has been a surge. Either crashes that have happened, 1,071 reported to us.
1,071 for which year? Last year?
Oh, January this year.
Okay, wow. 1,071. 1,071. Just January.
Yeah, January 1st to 31st January 2018.
Crashes.
Last year was a bit minimal, 938. The vehicle that has been crashed is 1,774. And last year was 1,440. Unfortunately, 1,171 Ghanaians have been injured within this month, 31 days last month, and last year was 910.
What do you reckon happened? What have we stopped doing? Maybe
I think the trend hasn't changed much. It's about what you're talking about. It's either majority has been driver error and road user error. Let me put it that way.
Is there anything that we could do? Is that really?
I think the diagnosis is clear that we need to ensure that we sustain the national policy to dualize all our trunk roads, too, particularly the major ones that are used by transit court vehicles and all of that, and ensure that we intensify enforcement and continue to arrest people, and then admonish, like I said, Ghanaians to put on their seatbelt. While you are admonishing drivers to moderate their speed and check them during enforcement.
In your work, quickly before I end with you, sir, in your work, do you reckon that if at a point, I mean, the police were arresting people for not wearing their seatbelts, right now, I look around and I'm not quite sure that that's quite effective. It seems that it's something that we all overlook.
I think we are doing, but it's not effective because we need to put certain things right. That
does it have to do with law? Does it have to do with doing anything with the law?
The law is clear
since
2002, and the operational law LI in 2012. However, the implementation to get it done, because the vehicle came to meet, the law came to meet certain vehicles. How do you put seatbelts on vehicles that are already in the system, other than the new one that are coming? It's also a problem, and therefore, if you are doing enforcement and it is hazardous, it is discriminatory. That some can drive a vehicle and not having the seatbelt on them, and then you don't bother them, but you bother those who have seatbelts and are not wearing. I think that also has a problem that we have to do. So DVLA should be encouraged to ensure that all vehicle owners that have vehicles that carry passengers are retrofit seatbelts on them.
They have what? They have what?
These vehicles that are passenger carrying vehicles, both private, commercial, should be enjoined to retrofit seatbelts on each seat so that occupants will put them on. And if they don't put them on, then police will take them on. However, the existing vehicles that have seatbelts, please, every Ghanaian when you are driving, please, or you are sitting as a passenger, both private, commercial, please wear them. Put them on.
All right, sir. Thank you very much for your intervention. DSP Alexander Obeng is the Director of Research, Education and Training at the MTTD. I still have in the studio with me Charles Odro Kwarteng, but I have a Member of Parliament on the line as well. Let's engage him quickly. Kwame Agboja is a Member of Parliament for Adaklu and ranking member on Parliament's Transport Committee. Sir, thank you very much for your time. We're just having a conversation here, looking at how to explore or what else we can explore to reduce the number of people dying on our roads, and I'm wondering, is anything happening at the committee level?
Well, thank you very much, and I think I agree largely with what the policeman has said. But we need to also look at far beyond that. You know, at peak period, we are registering about 1,000 vehicles a day. I mean, at peak period, basically meaning that we are putting more vehicles on the road. And if you look at the statistics for 2017, not a single stretch of new road was constructed, yet we added probably thousands more of vehicles to compete on the same road. And within the same period of time, you will notice that only 40% of the road planned maintenance work on roads was carried out. 40%. So if you want to talk about road safety in a form of the road itself, the road surface on which we are driving, and then the health and safety or what the policeman talked about. There's one part which is government responsibility, and then there's another one which is you and I's responsibility. Government's responsibility is to ensure that the roads are in good condition, whether they are new roads that are being built or the existing ones are being maintained. I mean, like I just said, all those ones that were supposed to be done by government last year, we've fallen short of that. Meanwhile, we put more vehicles on
and unfortunately, we can't stop people from buying vehicles, but we can put in place measures that keep all of us safe. The vehicles are on the road. The roads have not been expanded, but at the committee level, do you really feel as helpless as many Ghanaians feel about?
No. We don't feel helpless. Just last week, we had a conversation with National Road Safety Commission and then, for instance, the VIP. Because you notice of late, a couple of accidents happened, and then the public got the impression that it's VIP caused by VIP. So we took them through a couple of interactions, and it came out quite clearly that, as a matter of fact, they take safety quite seriously, and they've been working hand in hand with National Road Safety. Though we expect them to do more, but we needed to do this with other identifiable transport organizations, and also continue to do what the policeman just said, to encourage the average person driving. I always say that the Ghanaian is almost always laid back in many things until he gets behind a steering wheel and his patience runs out. We can't just tolerate each other on the road, and therefore we take certain things for granted. I am happy you did raise the issue about seatbelts. It is not unusual for you to say, and sometimes people say that it's people who are not educated that do this. I have seen policemen, I have seen lawyers, I've seen members of parliament, I've seen ministers driving, talking on the phone without even their seatbelts on. So it is not about simple education, because I don't think as a member of parliament I needed further education to know that when I'm speaking, when I'm driving, I'm supposed to be strapped in my seatbelt, and if there's any child in the car, the child appropriately is strapped in a seatbelt, drive at the appropriate speed that every road requires, and also not talk or text when I'm driving. Sadly, this is take place.
So I suppose that at the committee level, there will be some hard talk going on about perhaps something else that could be done, because we seem to have explored all the available avenues. And
no, we haven't. Really, the enforcement, we haven't.
Okay, so I assume that there will be some more talk and pretty hard talk about what ought to be done going forward.
Oh yes, yes. We are encouraging government to actually back up in terms of the expansion of the roads, which that one, they plan to do, and that we hope that will be done. We are encouraging National Road Safety Commission also to keep the education going, and also the MTTD also to carry out more enforcement. I'm elated with the figures that the MTTD gentleman just put out, meaning that more and more people are being prosecuted for road-related offenses. I think that would also act as a deterrent to those people who are breaking the law. And the combination of these things hopefully would reduce the unacceptable rate of road fatalities. Hopefully.
Sir, thank you very much for your time. Kwame Agboja is the MP for Adaklu and ranking member on the Transport Committee in Parliament. You've heard him talking about the National Road Safety. Apparently there's been talks going on. Is it that you're limited in your mandate? Because in the beginning you were referring to your mandate. So do you feel that really what you can do is up to the mandate and that you are limited in this mandate?
Indeed, you are right. Beyond the mandate, you can't do more. Because when you want to...
Even when people are dying?
Because you've been given a certain power to operate within. So if you go beyond that, there's a likelihood you might be stepping into the function of one other agency or another government.
But what more do you think you can do that will still overflow into another agency, but you could still manage?
For instance, when you see maybe a road without a pedestrian crossing, we educate people to use the pedestrian crossing when crossing the road. So when you get to a road and there's no pedestrian crossing, as a commission, we do not have the power or the authority to go and get a pedestrian crossing marked on the road.
But
what we can do is to talk to the urban roads, plead with them, lobby them for them to get it done. So whilst we are doing that behind the scene, we target you as the road user. You see, when you look at what DSP Obin said and the Member of Parliament said, you can see clearly that protecting yourself on the road has to do with you as an individual. You have a major role to play. Even if the National Road Safety Commission, we intensify our campaign to some point, the police, they are doing their checks, DVLA, they are all doing their work. As a road user, what are you also doing to support what we are doing? Mostly we say that our work is, say, a preacher man in the church giving out the gospel. We tell you what you are supposed to do, what you are not supposed to do. You say do not fornicate, but people fornicate anyway. Fantastic. So we tell people, don't drive whilst you are talking on phone. You need to get your seatbelt. But when you get onto the road, so that boils down to enforcement, right? And the fact is that we cannot get police or MTTD everywhere. At some point in time, you meet them and they would carry out their enforcement role. Okay. But you get to a place where they are not there. You see, there are situations where you see a driver driving on the road, you see him without a seatbelt. When he's approaching a police barrier, he buckles the seatbelt, he moves from there and just takes it back. So that's pretty much a problem, and a problem that we know, and I can understand your frustration as the National Road Safety Commission, but people are also losing relatives, losing loved ones, and they are all concerned. Let me wrap up this conversation with you by asking what the plan for 2018 is. 2018, tomorrow we'll be having a press briefing to make our plans and activities known to the public. But this year we are going to intensify our reduced speed campaign and collaborate more with our stakeholders. What happened to the speed cameras? When are they coming? The speed cameras, they are there. We are looking at how we can get the spot fine quickly in place so that it could also serve as a mechanism to check speed. It's been a very long time since you were looking. You know, it's a law. It has to pass through a process, and you know the bureaucracies involved. You can't just wake up and say you want to implement. And one other thing is that, you see, whenever we pick something very relevant in the airline and we would want to implement, you hear a huge public outcry. Well, if it doesn't work for the public, they will criticize it. That's okay. But we as a commission have done some investigation and know that if we implement this in one way or the other, it will support our work to reduce fatalities on the road. But we end up being chastised and being insulted in one way or the other. So we need to support the work of the National Road Safety Commission. Okay. Safety starts from you and I. So let's do our best, and I believe strongly we will be able to free our roads from these unacceptable crashes. Hopefully viewers have heard and they will take heed. But 2018 we expect to see a lot more work from the National Road Safety Commission and a reduction on the carnage on our roads. Charles Kwarteng is planning officer with the National Road Safety Commission. We'll be speaking to people on the street. What do they think of this trend? Here's what they say.
Police must really work on these road regulations. They must really enforce it very well for the drivers, because most of the drivers are not obeying the route. You can see a bus stop and then a driver will just pass just close to the bus stop. Okay, I mean, programs, they were all on top of speed, and they tried to, overtake the buses and then the big trucks on the road, and it was so scary. Some of them were so scary that we even thought there was going to be an accident on the road. We also want to plead that prayers should also be said for our country so that some of these things should be minimized or even, if possible, eradicated.